Mute. Wish I could push that button during the entire movie. Hey, what's up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review Mute. So Mute stars Alexander Skarsgård, Paul Rudd, and Justin Theroux, and what this film is basically about, it's about this guy named Leo, and Leo is mute. He can't speak, unfortunately, because after an accident that happened when he was a kid, so he can't speak. And, the only thing that's making him worth living his life is his girlfriend that he loves. But when his girlfriend goes missing one night, he now needs to basically find out where she is and hopefully get her back. So, what did I think of Mute? Now, I was very excited actually for this movie going into it because I loved the cast that they had behind it. I really liked the director that they had behind it, Duncan Jones, and I thought the trailers looked really cool. I thought this could have been a really solid movie, and even though Netflix doesn't have the best track record, I was still hoping maybe this could be at least a good movie, and could be an interesting sci-fi film. Unfortunately, I didn't get that at all. What I got was a terrible mess of a movie. Yeah, that's what I got instead, because Mute is pretty bad. Honestly, Mute is really terrible. Like, this movie has no sense of direction whatsoever in terms of its story. Seriously, the narrative is so messy in this movie. It really is. It is so messy, the narrative in this film. It really is, honestly. I thought the narrative was really messy, honestly. It was so all over the place. And you're bored by it, honestly, and the story's just not that interesting, too. It is a terrible movie. I couldn't stand this film, and that sucks to say, because I was really looking forward to this, and the movie just turns out to be a big old mess of a film. But I do have positives with Mute, and I'll get into those positives first, so let's get into them. First being, the acting. The acting, for the most part, I'll say, is pretty solid. Alexander Skarsgård is really good. I really enjoyed him in the film. He was probably my favorite character in the entire movie. Like I said, he's mute. He doesn't say a single word in this movie. But, his emotional performance, his, physical and, showing off emotions and stuff like that, it's really good. I really liked that a lot, and I thought he did a pretty solid job with that in the film, and he was really good. So, he gave a solid performance. Paul Rudd was great. Him and that glorious mustache of his, they were great in the movie. I really enjoyed him in the film. He was pretty great, honestly. So yeah, and some of the other actors were pretty solid too. There were some other acting performances that were pretty good. And lastly, with the positives, I thought Duncan Jones did a solid job directing the film. Had it was very well shot. Editing wasn't too bad with the movie. Cinematography was really good too. So yeah, Duncan Jones didn't do a bad job directing this movie. I'll say the movie is pretty well directed. Now the negatives, because I do have a lot of negatives with the film. First being, the rest of the acting is pretty bad, honestly. Justin Theroux, who I actually really like as an actor. I think Justin Theroux is a pretty solid actor, but in this, he just is not good. He really isn't. And I just really didn't enjoy him in the film. He kind of gave a really wonky performance, and I really didn't enjoy him in the film. There's some other actors, too, in the film that are just why are you here? They're just really bad. Especially, these two people. They're not in the film all that much, but there's, these two people that, keep on, harassing, Alexander Skarsgård's girlfriend in, the bar and stuff like that. Their acting was, so terrible. They're not in the movie all that much, only in it for a couple scenes, but for those couple scenes, man, they were pretty god-awful, honestly. I really didn't enjoy them in the film either. So yeah, the rest of the acting can be really bad, honestly. The story. There's a lot of things to go with the story with this movie. First, I'll just say this. The story is boring as hell. It is not interesting at all. Honestly, it really isn't. I really didn't find myself invested into the story. I really didn't care about their relationship. You know what I mean? Like Alexander Skarsgård and his girlfriend's relationship. Like, I felt like it wasn't really built all that well, if you know what I mean. Like, I really didn't think the relationship was built all that well. I didn't think it was enough for me to care about it and to make me really, be invested with the end of the story. And, like, that's a big part for this movie. So, the fact that I wasn't interested in that is really bad and is, not good, obviously. So, yeah, the story was very boring and I really wasn't interested in it. And, like I said, it is a mess. It is a really gigantic mess in this movie, and the way it is handled is pretty terrible. Like, the narrative is so all over the place. There's no clear narrative, honestly, in this movie. It is so messy. It really is. I really thought the narrative with this movie was really messy, and there was no real clear narrative with this film, and it just felt so all over the place. I'm just like, focus on one thing. Like, it's going into so many directions that it doesn't need to go in, and it's just like, it felt like a mess, and it just didn't feel cohesive at all with me. I thought the writing with the film wasn't all that great either. The writing was honestly pretty bad, to be honest with you. So, yeah, the writing wasn't all that great. The visual effects weren't even that spectacular either. Like, with the movie that's built around a visual presentation like this, you would think it would look spectacular and look amazing and, be eye-popping. Really, it looks bleak to me. Like, very bleak, very just, and like, it doesn't look all that great, honestly. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but it just doesn't look like anything special, honestly. Like, the visual effects are kind of bland looking, to be for real with you. Like, I just really thought the visual effects looked very bland. The movie is boring as hell. The movie moves at a snail's pace. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes, and it feels like 3 hours and 6 minutes. It really does. Like, this movie moves at such a snail's pace, and I just didn't really, like, I wasn't invested. So, if I wasn't invested into the story and wasn't real, like, I'm just not going to be invested with your movie. And I really wasn't, honestly. Like, this movie moves at such a slow pace, and I'm just like, end. Honestly, just end. And also, like, the movie you think is gonna end a certain way. Like, you think you're at the climax of the film, but no, you're still, like, have a half hour left of the film. And, like, the finale just feels so messy and so out of place. Like, it just goes so all over the place. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing? Like, it felt so messy, especially how they did those, like, the last act of the movie. It was pretty terrible. And lastly, I know some reviews have kind of talked about this, but I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but there's a certain element about a certain character in this movie that felt so unnecessary and so just out of place. Like, it had no purpose of being in here. Honestly, like, this certain element for this certain character did not need to be in here. It didn't fit with the story. It felt very unnecessary, honestly. Like, it just fit nowhere, honestly. This certain element for this character, like, it fit nowhere into the story. And then there's one scene. Now, no spoilers, of course, like I said, but there's one scene where one character finds out about this certain element about this character. And, he's all mad at him at first and stuff like that. But then, like, the next minute, he's like, oh, let's go shopping. Let's go shopping. Like, what? Like, you just found out this pretty awful thing about this character. And you're just gonna throw it off like that? Like, what? Like, just the way that they handled a certain thing in this movie felt very unnecessary and felt like it did not need to be in this movie whatsoever, honestly. It just feels so out of place and just fits nowhere with the story. Like, what does this do for the purpose of the story? Really nothing. So yeah, Mute is pretty bad. Mute is really bad, honestly, and that sucks to say, because I really wanted this to be a good movie, and it really wasn't. I thought Mute was pretty terrible. So it's time for my official grade on Mute, and my official grade on Mute is a D. it's a pretty awful film. I really didn't enjoy this, with sloppy storytelling, some really bad acting, really bad writing. Just, the movie is a mess. It is a complete and utter dumpster fire to watch, honestly, and I really didn't enjoy it, honestly. Mute is pretty bad, and it sucks to say that. So, yeah, Mute gets a D. So, if you have seen Mute, what did you think of it? Leave in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599, and we will see you out later. Peace.